Hi, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Summer is here, as in case the weather didn't tell you, but you can tell. School's out. There's a lot of fun in the air. For me, I always like to think about my summer days. I'm not that young anymore, but I remember summers being filled with fun and time with my cousins, time outside. There's nothing like a good game of tag in the summer. In my mind today, that's kind of what Jesus is doing with us, right? Saying, tag, you're it. Today's readings have a funny moment. Jesus ascends into heaven, and then all the disciples are sitting there. I've oftentimes looked at the disciples like they're a little doopey, a little dopey, right? So imagine today, they're just all sitting there. Jesus is gone, and they're just still sitting there. Moms and dads, I think a lot of y'all can relate to that. How many times have y'all told the kids, hey, go clean your room, and they just sit there and staring at you like you didn't say anything, right? The angels are basically saying today, what are y'all doing? Come on, get along, keep it moving. The kids might say that Jesus is ghosting. As the kids say Jesus is ghosting the disciples, but I don't think that's what's happening today. The ascension is about Jesus going to God and leaving us his mission. It's not a handoff, it's more of an exit. I often like to watch the Olympics are now, but I'm during the summertime often reminded of the Olympics. And I like to watch when they are running with the torch. Yeah. I always find it so interesting because anything can happen in those moments when they're handing off the torch, right? They could drop the torch, the runner could fall, the flame could extinguish, anything could happen. And yet they still manage to pass the torch from one another. That's what I think, to me, that's what the ascension means. That that Jesus has passed the torch to us, and then we're going to others, passing the torch to them. The ascension is not just this. So when Jesus went up, he didn't cut. Our first reading in the gospel today go hand in hand. We have Jesus, who's not with the rich and powerful. He isn't with kings or queens, but he's with tax collectors, fishermen. He says you will be witnesses. What is a witness, you ask? To me, a witness is very, very, very simply put, somebody who sees what they've seen, who truthfully says what they've seen. Jesus isn't asking us this weekend on our readings to be perfect. He's asking us to be faithful. When he left the disciples, they had every reason to be like, what's going on? Like, they didn't understand, right? But no, they continually were in the temple praising God, praying to God. Jesus says, you will be my witnesses. You don't need any titles or degrees. All you need to be a witness is the truth. Our mission today is to tell the story, to live the story, to be the story. We have to live our faith out loud, talk about Jesus, and live like Jesus. Whatever you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. Has anybody ever heard the saying, you're walking around with your head in the clouds? Yeah. For me today, I've always heard it, but today it rings especially true. Because I think oftentimes we walk around. I saw a commercial the other day that said that you're nose blind to things. Y'all know what that means, nose blind? You're so used to, you smell something every day, you don't even smell it. There was a commercial about Glade plugins or something, and they wanted you to understand that after so long, you're not going to smell something nasty. I think oftentimes in our lives, we walk around nose blind to suffering, to people suffering. We're inundated all day long with people that are suffering, and we don't even notice it. We oftentimes become nose blind to suffering. Homelessness, addiction, fear, worry. Those are all ways that people suffer, and we don't even know it. The gospel ends with the disciples returning with great joy. Are we returning to Christ with great joy? The second reading today is from the letter to the Hebrews. Christ entered the sanctuary. During these times, only one priest per year was allowed in the sanctuary. And Christ went in there on behalf of all of us. So what does that mean today? Well, to me, that means that we all have unfiltered access to God. We don't have to be afraid to come to God. When we come to God, are we coming to God confident in our relationship with God? Or are we coming to God weak and scared and unsure of how God feels about us? I feel like today's reading, the second reading in particular, wants us to remember that because Christ died for us, that's all that's needed, that Christ died for us. And so therefore, we are given that access to God. Everybody is. Life is unpredictable. Life is gonna life. But we face it with purpose and presence. Jesus lit the way for us and walks with us in the Spirit. Are we walking with those around us? We have to show up for one another. We can't just, if we are spending all our time paying attention to things that are not important, paying attention to things that people are saying about us, all the ways that we're inadequate, we're going to be blind to the other good things that God has in store for us. So what does this mean? This means that we are called this week to show up. Just like the disciples didn't fully understand God's plan, they were a little scared. They were still waiting for the Holy Spirit, but they returned to Jerusalem. They stayed together. They prayed. And when the Spirit came, they were ready. Sometimes the holiest thing that we can do is very simply to show up for one another. Show up in prayer. Show up for our neighbor. Show up for our partner, for our community. Show up for the gospel. Because when we show up, that means that God is showing up. So this week as we go out, imagine that we are in the big game of tag. Tag period and go to the next person and tag them. After all, that's what God is calling us to do. Bring everywhere.